Dear brothers and sisters, it's wonderful to have all of you here. I know many of you have traveled from many different parts of the world. And as we gather together here on this warm summer afternoon, I thought I should start to talk about and the 95-degree temperature and being out in the sun. We all know that the sun brings light to this whole globe. And the sun comes out and everything gets to be cheerful. But then when we are out in the sun with temperatures like what we have today, they say like within 10 minutes the body starts to burn. So what do we do when we want to be out in the sun? Because the sun is out there, we have to do our day-to-day activities, then we use what? Sunscreen. And the sunscreen that we use has all this SPF, sun protection factor. And the higher one it is, the better we think it is. And the more money we pay to get it. The protection that they give you is maybe 96% and 97% or something like that. It's not like the SPF 50 gives you 50% more or something. And when we get this protection, then we can stay for a longer period in that environment. And so why am I talking about sun protection? We're here inside, we're in a cool environment. We don't need the sunscreen here. I'm supposed to talk about spirituality, but as I walked in today, I could see the sun, I could feel the warmth, and I started to think. You know, the sun does wonderful things for each and every one of us. Okay. But then it also can burn our skin. And if we think it, the world in which we live in, God has sent us to live in this world that God created. And for us to have the human existence is a great boon, because out of all the 8.4 million species that our soul could be inhabiting, being in the human body is called the roof and crown of all creation. And so having this existence puts us in a state where we are able to not only experience ourselves as we are, but we are able to have our direct communication with God, so that we can find the oneness with the Creator and be off the wheel of transmigration. And so this environment that we find ourselves in, even though it's called a world of Maya or a world of illusion, or as the physical world, it has great benefits for us, because it's in this existence in the human body that we are able to meet God, be with God, experience the joys and peace eternally. But when we are in this world, just like, we get burned by the sun if we don't protect ourselves, in this world too, if our real self, our soul, doesn't protect itself, then it can be burned to the wells of the environment in which we find ourselves. And so when we find ourselves in this physical world, we find there are many, many distractions that keep us from getting to our goal. Distractions that come at the physical level, distractions that come at the intellectual level, distractions that come at the emotional level, and then distractions that are keeping us from growing spiritually. And so, just like we get sunscreen, we need to find something that is going to protect our soul. The sunscreen is protecting our body, protecting our skin from getting burned. So what is it that will protect our soul? So we have another SPF, is the soul protection factor. So the soul can be protected. And how can the soul be protected? So let's just find out what is troubling the soul. Our soul is in the human body, and our scriptures, from whatever faith we read our scriptures, they're telling us that God the Creator is every place. God is in every atom. God is every place that we can think of. So that tells us that God is with us too. God is within us. And so if God is within us and our soul is within us, why is the soul in trouble? Unfortunately, with this body comes our mind, which is also in the human frame, and the mind is keeping us from connecting with God. The mind is a lover of enjoyments. The mind wants our attention to be in the world outside. And so through our physical senses, our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, our sense of smell, our sense of taste, and a sense of touch. These are the 5 physical senses through which our attention, which is the outer expression of our soul, gets engrossed through the wiles of the mind in the activities of the world outside. And this world outside is a world of illusion or maya. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. It's a reflection of the reality. So when our attention goes not into the truth, not into the reality, but into the reflection of the reality, we take that to be reality. And so we start to believe and we start to experience for ourselves, because our experiences are at the physical level, that all that we are experiencing is real. Our relationships here, we feel are real, and we try to cultivate them. But we all know, whichever we cultivate all our relationships, something goes wrong somewhere along the place. There's a crack in the relationship. Pain comes from us, difficulty comes from us. We get depressed, we get disillusioned. Same thing happens because we start to think of ourselves as the physical body. So we try to keep the body fit and fine. We feed it the right kind of nutrients, whatever we think is right, and with time our thinking changes. There was a time when you're young, the pizza and ice cream were the best thing for your body. Then you age and you say, broccoli and spinach are good. Your thinking changes because, as you age, the realization that pizza and ice cream really didn't do what we think it would do. Now in trouble, you better put some greens in the system. Okay? But at whatever age we are in, whatever times we're going in, we're trying to feed the body in what we think is best for the body. We're trying to keep the body fine. No one wants the body to not work fine, because we know if the body doesn't work fine, we have a pain here, we got digestive problems, we have difficulties in being able to get from one place to another, and with time the body is going to deteriorate. Okay? So physical pains are going to come because we think of ourselves as the body. And so any pain in the body is our own pain. Any difficulty in the body is our own difficulty, and we try to solve that. The same thing happens with knowledge. Every human being wants to be knowledgeable. We want to learn, we want to gain. And what knowledge do we gain as we grow up? We all try to go to school. We try to put our kids in the best schools that we can afford. We try to get to colleges, universities, and we try to learn things that we think we have an interest in. You know? So as we go through schooling, what happens? We learn the languages so that we can communicate with others. We learn the basics like geography and history of our cultures, so that we are familiar with what environment we are in, what happened with our forefathers and the things before, and so that we can deal with the physical environment in which we find ourselves well. We also intellectually are trying to learn a profession so that as we grow we can provide for ourselves. Okay? So the growth of the intellect is only focused in learning about the physical environment in which we find ourselves, because we think it to be real, even though it's a reflection of the realities. And as we grow physically, emotionally, and intellectually, one aspect of our life that we should be growing is generally never given any attention, and that's the spiritual side of our life. Most of the time, we are focused on the religious side of our lives. We all are born to parents who follow some religion, whatever religion it might be. And so our parents take us to our places of worship. And in our places of worship, what is very interesting is that all the places of worship are trying for us to find out more about God. Because they all talk about God, the Creator. What generally happens is that each one of our faiths, because as the faith grows, it needs to have rules and regulations as to how do you behave when you go in a place of worship. What is it that you do? Okay? And so what you do has very strong reasons for when the thing started. But then with time, the purpose for which they were started is forgotten, and it looks like we end up with doing things which become very ritualistic. So I'd like to leave you with an example. There was a saint, and the saint would have spiritual talks, give satsangs. This was the time, old times, then we didn't have these big buildings and everything, so the talks would be on the outside. So in the beginning, a few people would come, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people come, and the saint would give a talk, on a daily basis. So there was a cat in the area, and this cat would come and she'd start to make a racket, when the satsang was going on. So one of the sevadas, they decided, how do we deal with this situation? So they decided, the management decided, okay, the cat should be taken and tied about 4 blocks away, so that when the cat makes any sounds, no one's disturbed. So duty was put on one of the sevadas, and one of the selfless service person in the area, to have the cat be tied up a few minutes before the spiritual talk would happen. So this kept on going on. With time, the sevadar passed away physically, so another person was given that duty or job. So he was told, you have to tie the cat. He did not know why he had to tie the cat, but he had to tie the cat. Then the cat died. So before the spiritual talk would happen, they got another cat. Because cat had to be tied before he can have the spiritual talk. The cat died. So they got another cat. In the meantime, the saint died. And so another saint came in his place. So many generations happened. So then, after many generations, there was always a cat which was brought and was tied before the spiritual talk could happen. That's what rituals are all about. We go into a place of worship, we light a candle, we turn a light on, we ring a bell. Okay? Very rarely do we realize why we are doing those things. Because it becomes a habit. We go, we listen to the scriptures. Okay? And so we feel very good. We go there, we do our each faith does different things, and we feel good about it, and gives a lot of solace, and we feel very good. But we miss the point of why we are doing those things. We never go and check why are we lighting the light. We don't understand or try to get to the meaning of what is written in the scriptures. We just hear them, we say, well, that's very good to hear. We don't analyze it, we don't try to put that into our life. Okay? If we were all to put our scriptures into our life would be great. Because the scriptures are based on the experiences of the great saints and mystics, and they all talk about their communion with God. So if we were to focus on their teachings properly, we would also recognize that all of our faiths have this other side to their faith, which is the esoteric side. We only focus on the exoteric side, which is the outer side of our faith. And we feel good because going to a place of worship is very good, thinking about God is very good. All the sermons are very nice, good things are told to us, we're very happy. As soon as we leave, do we put it into practice, or do we really understand exactly what happened during that time? Each and every faith starts after the life of a great saint or mystic. If you look at Christianity, it came after Lord Jesus Christ. There's no Christianity before Lord Jesus Christ. There's no Buddhism before Lord Buddha. There's no Jainism before Lord Mahavira. There's no Sikhism before Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. So all of the faiths start after the experiences of a saint. Now, those experiences were all spiritual experiences. The saints talk about communion with God. Whether the communion happened under a bo tree, whether the communion happened in a cave, whether the communion happened as the sky opened up and they had a communion, but they talk about a communion with God. Not a physical, but a spiritual connection. And most of our scriptures talk about the flights of the soul. They talk about the soul having these experiences. And that side of our faith is kind of hidden. We don't focus on it. Because we are so happy with the rites and rituals that we say, oh, this is good. I'm doing the right things. I'm praying and I'm going to my place of worship, and it makes us feel good. Everything is good, and so we don't go beyond that. Okay. The key is to recognize that each and every one of us has been given this opportunity to experience God. In the human body, we have all the faculties that are required by us to know God. And so this human existence is given to us first to recognize that in reality we're not the body, we're not our brains, we're not our emotions, that in reality we are soul. That soul which is full of the love and light of God, that soul which is part of the Creator, that soul which can experience God. And so this human existence is given so that we can have that experience. Sant Singh Ji Maharaj would often say, what one person can do, so can another. Each and every one of us can experience God. God is not the domain only of the saints or the mystics or the yogis or the people who feel that they're very religious or spiritual. God is available equally to each and every one of us. It depends on how much effort do we put in to know God. So this existence is given to us to be one with the Creator. And once we understand that, then we will try to work with all the difficulties that our mind is putting to us from keeping us from knowing the Creator. We would try to focus our attention on that connection. We would try to figure out ways and means by which we can also commune with the Creator. And so, saints and mystics over the years who've had their communion with the Creator, and when we read their writings and when we read their teachings, they all tell us that connection can be had in this very lifetime. You know, we are living in an age which is very scientific, and this day and age, we want to see something, we want to experience something, we want to know the results of some experimentation, and we want a scientific proof of God being there, us being able to commune with God. And what is very interesting is in the last 50 years, there are many people who talk about what are called near-death experiences. People who came very close to death, whether they were on a surgical table, whether they had an accident, they had a physical trauma, all of a sudden they found an existence beyond the body. If they were on a surgical table in a surgical room, they could find their existence in the room. They could see the doctors and nurses frantically working on the body. They could hear everything that was being said, but no one could see them or hear them. Many talked about going through like a tunnel and then coming to a region of tremendous light. Light that they never experienced before. Light which was not scorching, but a loving light. And many talked about experience of being of light. And they said that they were maybe given a three-dimensional view of what the important things that had happened in their life. And not only were they shown them, they were made to experience the results of their action. So if they helped someone, they could feel the joys that they provided to the other person. But if they brought pain to someone, they could also feel the pain that they inflicted on someone else. And so irrespective of whether they have brought more pain or more help to someone, they said they were all loved by the being of light, they were embraced by the being of light, and they had never felt that much happiness and joy in their life. Now it wasn't their turn to physically die, so they found themselves in the physical body. And when they found themselves in the physical body, many of them started to relate their experiences to the doctors. In the beginning, people thought these were crazy. How can this happen? But then, as many people started to have those experiences, many books came out on that subject. And today there are Many, many books by doctors who've done research, many books by people who had these experiences. And so today, when we live in the scientific world, we find people who have experiences like that. We wonder, do we need to have a physical trauma to be able to get to that state? Or can we experience that in our day-to-day existence? And that is what the saints have been telling us. They've been telling us there's a mechanism by which we can experience ourselves at the level of our soul. And that mechanism is called meditation. That mechanism is a means by which we take our attention, which is the outer expression of our soul, and we focus it within ourselves. And as we focus our attention within, with help and guidance, we can be uplifted from the physical to the divine. And many saints and mystics have written about that spiritual journey. Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj wrote much about the spiritual way. He wrote about the spiritual journey. He says, "Khak se taba kya kashan, हमने तो जब किया सफ़र, इश्क मिला कदम कदम, हुस्न मिला नज़र नज़र." He says, when I travel from the earthy to the heavenlies, I found love at every step and beauty in every glance. So this journey within is a journey of love, it's a journey of light, it's a journey of beauty. And as we go on the spiritual journey, we find that the joys and the peace that we find within ourselves lasts not only for the time that we're meditating, but lasts for long periods of time later on too. So that what we experience on the inside then starts to reflect out from us, so that the environment in which we find ourselves starts to get more peaceful, more calm, more loving and more harmonious. And the pains that the physical world brings to us are not affecting us anymore, because within us we have found this source of sunlight which is not scorching, of light which is loving, light which is calming us, light which puts us in a state of tranquility, so that the ups and downs of the physical world are not affecting us anymore. It's just like, it could be 95 degrees on the outside, and we are in this hall which is air conditioned, so we don't feel it. So it's the same thing when, even though there are ups and downs of life, because we all have past karma which is associated with our soul, which needs to be taken care of, even though we might have many distractions in the physical world, but once we find the spiritual haven within ourselves, those don't bother us, because we can always partake of the joys and the bliss that are within each and every one of us. So let's just meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight. Focus 8 to 10 inches in front of you. As you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do your Simran. Those of you new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. This repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. With time, you'll get to a state where the thoughts are getting less and less and less and less. And as that happens, then you start to experience vistas of light open up in front of you. In the beginning, it seemed like the light is coming and going, and there could be circles of light, there could be flashes of light. But with time, these lights stabilize, and then many, many other vistas open up. Stars, sky, we get many, many, many experiences within. And as we focus in those experiences, we find the joy and the peace and the stillness within, which puts us in a state of ecstasy. I pray to God Almighty to help each and every one of us here experience the realities of our existence. And it's my prayer to the three great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and Dayal Purush Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us connect with the divine light within and to experience the light in its effulgence. So we'll be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting out of this meditative state at that time, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off. Please leave off.